Welcome back to Gaming Night. I'm your host, G.A.M.E.R here, and today we're going to be taking a look at another game, giving my review, my thoughts, give a score to a big game that released in 2023. It's now 2024 at the time of recording this, so I can't say this year. It's just not a thing I can do anymore, unfortunately, so I'm going to have to get used to that. But, yeah, we're taking out a big game that released in 2023. It was a it is a PS5 exclusive, and that is Final Fantasy 16. So, man, this one's gonna be really this one's gonna be hard because I have a lot to say about this game. The fact that I'm just now doing a review maybe could tell you something, but at the same time, there's a lot of games that I have finished I still haven't done a review for. But what I will say is I did just finish the game 2 days ago at the time of recording this, and so yeah, you could probably tell, and it came out in June of 2023. And it's January 2024, so you can probably give a little bit of a hint of maybe what's going on. Now, I will say I have a lot of critiques about this game. A lot of critiques, and we're going to get into it. But I also have a lot of positives I want to say about it as well. But my overall experience with this game is so up and down. And I feel like the fact that it has taken me this long to beat it kind of goes to show that. And here's what I'll say. I think if you are looking for a RPG to really sink into, and if you are looking for a really complex, in-depth, layered, consistent experience, I do not think you are going to get this. Now, that being said, if you are looking for a really good story with great cutscenes, great boss fights, a good ending, a good start, right? If you are looking for a game where you're going to have amazing moments, kind of like God of War, or if you are looking for a game that you are just going to be amazed by its scale and scope, this is a game that you definitely want to play. But yeah, we're gonna go ahead and dive into it. I know I kind of just jumped straight into some of my thoughts on it, but yeah, it did take me a long time to finish the game, and it is truly because I did find a lack of engagement with the game. It didn't quite keep me hooked and into it as much as I would have wanted it to. Now, going into this game, this was one of my most anticipated games of the year. Just as a big Final Fantasy fan, every trailer I saw of it, I thought just looked so good, and the more I saw it, the more excited I got, and the more better I think it looked. To the point where, like, I was debating if it was my most anticipated game of the year, even over Starfield, which it wasn't, but I got to that point, and I bought the deluxe edition. I'm wearing a shirt for it right now. So I actually have two Final Fantasy 16 shirts. And when I first started playing the game, the first act of the game, I was in love with it. I was in love with it. I was like, yep, I can already see this being one of my favorite games of all time. This is so great. The boss fights, the combat, everything. It's so great. The problem was, I soon came to realize that was all just kind of getting sucked into the hype and kind of just off of initial reactions to the game. When I started, when I played another game, I realized going back to it that I wasn't as excited to actually go back to it, and I realized that the things I was doing, while they were really awesome, weren't some of my favorite things that I've ever done. And I think that's kind of an overarching thought that I have on the game, is I like a lot of the things that I've done in this game, and there are so many great things in this game, but when you really just look at it, I don't know if I really enjoyed a lot of things that it had to offer. So let's go ahead and let's dissect it a little bit. And I think the thing that this is universally praised for, I don't think you can really mess this up in a lot of ways, and that's its music. Final Fantasy music is just... Do they miss? I mean, genuinely ask yourself that question. Does Final Fantasy OSTs miss? And the answer is no. They They just do not. Now there are some that are way better than others, don't get me wrong, but they're always good to the very least. And this one was no exception. It's just an absolute beauty of an OST. Yeah, from start to finish. My only critique about the music, I actually do have a little critique about the music. The boss fight themes were all pretty much the same. The only one that I could remember off the top of my dome that was different was the Titan boss theme. Whenever you're like running at him when he's giant and like rocks are flying, there's like this weird like acoustic drum type music to that, which is completely weird, and it kind of threw me off completely. Like it took me out of the game, because I'm like, what the heck is this music? Like, it was great. Like, it's good. Like, it's fire. Don't get me wrong, but it just like, it caught me so off guard. I'm like, okay, cool. It was just really, really weird, but still, it was really, really good. And overall, the entire game just has beautiful music. Second of all, I think the other thing that mostly everybody can agree with is that this game is visually stunning. The effects are great. The character designs are great. The scope and scale of everything. I mean, just seeing these massive dominance or icons just everywhere on these beautiful set pieces of the game. When you're running at Titan, like I just said, is insane. Some of these cinematics where Torgal unlocks his like ultimate form, whatever, for the first time, that was great. When Sid comes crashing down and like there's like this slow-mo shot of everybody flying in the air after they got like electrocuted and everything. All these shots are so good when you're seeing all these different characters and forces of nature just colliding and doing their thing. Clive jumping between all these different tentacles, Clive like unleashing his like wings and stuff. I mean, it's just absolutely beautiful. Not even just in the cinematics, but in the gameplay as well. When you're doing some of these special moves and abilities, the camera angles and the effects that they use are just second to none. I mean, it really is a beautiful spectacle. And when you have amazing music like Final Fantasy, it really does make you feel epic. It makes you feel epic. And that's like my favorite thing about Final Fantasy 16. And honestly, what like my favorite thing about a lot of games in general is when they feel epic, when you feel like you have the power in your hands and you are just a absolute demon. I absolutely love that, and Final Fantasy nails that to a T. Now the problem is this is where I'm going to get into my first critique, is it has all of these great visuals, it has all of these great animations and cinematics, and it has all these great music, but the combat gets repetitive, in my opinion. There you go. I said it. I think what the combat is, there's a huge debate whether Final Fantasy should have gone action-based or if it should have stayed turn-based strategy. I am kind of indifferent. I don't really have a preference. As long as it's good, that's all I really want. If it's turn-based, I hope it's good. If it's action, I hope it's good. And while I think it is very satisfying and I like what's there, I think they could have done a lot more with it. Once you learn the combat, the only thing that changes throughout the entire 30-hour experiences is you get a new element, like every boss fight, really, like every like milestone in the game, and that only happens 8 times throughout the entire 30-hour story. And I love that. Don't get me wrong, I love when you unlock new elements. It's part of the best part of the combat. But you have to really ask yourself, is doing the exact same things for 30 hours not gonna get repetitive? And to me, it just did. To me, it just did. Anytime there was a new wave of enemies or another boss fight, it kind of just felt like I was doing the same exact thing, but watching different visuals. And that's really what kept the gameplay from being quite mid, in my opinion. While I wasn't the biggest fan of the combat, having those awesome bosses, having the great visuals, having the great scenes, having the great music and the epic scale made up for feeling kind of repetitive, because at the very least I was still enjoying what I was watching and what I was playing, even though I wasn't as addicted to it or I wasn't as satisfied from what I was doing. But that being said, the pros, I think the whole element system and the ability system is pretty solid. I think, having the left trigger as an ability, having, your classic action RPG abilities in your bottom right, I think all of that is really, really great. There is no, like, blocking or parrying, which I feel like could have added a big thing there. There is dodging and, like, perfect dodging. But like I said, I think blocking and, like, having parries could have been something really, that could have just added a lot. I think being able to unlock more, like, combos within the hack and slash, because, I mean, truly, the hack and slash is the same exact combo over and over and over and over again for 30 hours, and it's just like, it's cool, but it's old, and that was kind of my big complaint with it. Now, we're gonna come back to gameplay a little bit, but it kind of has to do with another weakness within the game, so we're gonna go ahead and jump into that. My biggest issue with this game is also one of its biggest strengths, and I know that's so weird. This is such a weird game to review because, like I said, I love so much of it, and I do not like a lot of it. And that's the story, or I'm gonna be more specific, and I'm gonna say the narrative. I think the narrative and the storytelling in the game is not great. It's not great. And the reason I want to be more specific is because I think when you take the characters, when you take all of their great moments, when you take the opening, when you take the ending, when you take those boss fights, when you take those huge moments within the game, they are powerful, they are emotional, they are exciting, they are amazing story pieces. The problem is that makes up about maybe 40% of the story. Those make up about 40% of the story, whereas a lot of it is going from point A to point B, or a lot of it is from jumping between different times. Like, there's one point after Act 1, it's like 5 years later or something like that. And I'm just like, what? Like, I was just getting into it. I was like, yo, this was a great moment. I'm so curious what's going to happen afterwards. 5 years later. Oh. Okay. And I think a lot of it is the RPG elements are not there. I mean, they're there, but they are not strong. And the problem is, if you're going to make this an action RPG, the RPG elements has to be there, because truthfully, this is a big complaint from everybody, is this feels almost like the least RPG Final Fantasy yet. It feels like the least RPG out of them all. And, that's not good for a game like that, where majority of the storytelling is going to be through dialogue, through talking, through exploration, through side quest. And it's just not there. It's not there, and that unfortunately makes up majority of the story. Don't get me wrong. When you reach those epic moments and those great moments, my God, they are amazing. They are amazing. They are some of the best moments of the year, no cap. But getting there feels like a chore. I never once felt really any kind of excitement just exploring, because you open a map, you click the point where it says to go, you go there, and you kind of just run to your waypoint, and sometimes enemies will show up and you fight them. It didn't grab me, and I know I probably could have explored a lot, but the problem was there was no incentive to it. There was no enticement to do that. It was just, yeah, some extra stuff, because we wanted to feel like an RPG, but not actually be an RPG. Now, that being said, there are some RPG elements, and some of it is decent. I mean, it's really hard to mess up every RPG element. I mean, gear system you can mess up quite a bit, but I will say the gear system is great, like all Final Fantasies. Yeah, it's just, I don't know, the whole narrative as a whole I found so underwhelming. not underwhelming because a lot of it was so great. I found most of it disappointing. I felt it dragging on at a lot of parts. There's a lot of slow moments. There is a lot of moments that I feel like was low-key kind of boring. There was a lot of parts where I just did not care whatsoever because I feel like it was just, I felt like there was a lot of filler. But it was filling for those amazing segments that actually do happen. Without a doubt, the boss fights are the peak of the game. The peak of the game. It's some of the best boss fights of all time. Facts. Straight facts. Cannot take that away from them. But getting to those did feel like a chore. And that was my biggest issue because it really took me out of it. And that's what made me stop playing for a long time, is the fact that I knew if I got to a boss fight, I would love it, but I didn't want to spend 7 hours getting there that I didn't really enjoy. And that was kind of a lot of the thing to me, especially when I found the combat kind of repetitive, and especially when I wasn't necessarily enjoying any of the story that was being given to me at that time. Yeah, it was kind of upsetting. Now that being said, let me go ahead and be more direct. I thought the ending was really good. I think the whole, spoiler alert right now. The game's been out for quite a while. I think Clive, Joshua, and Dion all dying is a bold decision, to say the least. And part of me really likes that decision because I think it puts a really nice bow around the game. But at the same time, I left kind of unsatisfied from the ending because I don't know. It just something didn't feel right. I felt like Clive definitely should have stayed alive. I feel like Clive, and we don't truthfully know if he's dead or not, but I think Clive should have stayed alive because at the end of the day, Dion and Joshua both gave their life for him, and so for him to also end up dying, I feel like, I don't know, it kind of left not the most satisfying feeling, but at the same time, it does hit really hard. It hits really, really hard. So, I don't know. That was kind of interesting. I will say, my favorite characters right now, I'm going to let you know my favorite characters right now. Number one, freaking, oh, hold on. Wait a minute. Okay, I don't know if I have an order. I have like 4 favorite characters, okay? One of them is Dion. I think Dion was a great character. We did not get enough of him, actually. I think his whole storyline and his whole arc was great for what we got. I feel like we should have gotten so much more. Anytime he was on screen, it was like, dude, this dude is dope. Second, Torgal, dude. Torgal the dog, he is a GOAT. Dude, when he did not come with us on the final mission, bro, I was gonna cry right then and there. Just that. The fact that they said that he wasn't gonna come on the final mission, I almost cried right then and there. That might have been the hardest I was about to cry throughout the entire game. Dude, I was like, no, he needs to come with us. Granted, he probably would have died, so I'm glad he didn't. But man, I was so sad that he didn't come with us. But it's whatever. Third, I would say Sid. I mean, Sid is great, and I even love that even after Sid is gone in the game, he still has such a presence, and I really like that. And then Gav. I really loved Gav as well. Gav was just a great addition. In terms of Clive goes, right? Clive is a great character. Do not get me wrong. I just didn't personally get attached to him. He was kind of just like dim and brooding the whole time, which I've liked characters like that in the past. But for me, when he's surrounded by all these other characters, I tend to actually like a lot of the other characters around him more. I think he bounces off a lot of the characters really, really well, because a lot of the characters are more like uplifting, you know, kind of make jokes, where he does not. I mean, he makes jokes, a lot of like one-liners, but like they're like really like he's like just mad all the time. So, and I get that is his character, but for me, I didn't like find Clive like one of my favorite characters. I love Clyde. He is great. Do not get me wrong. But yeah. And then me personally, I know this is gonna be the hottest take of all. I think the Jill and Clive whole relationship, I wish that would not have happened. I don't know. It just did not hit me the right way, which is funny because in the first act I was like, bruh, ship these two, and then by the time we actually got to the point, which was like really late in the game, I'm like, I don't know. I don't really know. Like, yeah, it's just weird. I get it. Adds more emotional weight to the ending, but I don't know. It was weird. So at the end of the day, my final thoughts. Great music, great characters, great boss fights, great visuals, great cinematics, decent story, and then repetitive gameplay, but fun gameplay. Terrible RPG system. Terrible, like, exploration and whatever you want to call that. I guess that would technically be the RPG. No, that's different. Like, exploration and side quests. And, yeah, I think that just about does it. So now I gotta come up with a score for this game. And this is so hard. I've been battling this in my head for quite a while. I could give it like 5 different scores and it could make sense. But I think when I'm looking at how much did I really enjoy playing the game, how much would I go back to the game, I am sitting, and I'm changing up the reviews. Not that I just thought of this. I forgot to mention this earlier. I'm going to like very specific points. So I could be like 0.8, 0.5, 0.4, 0.3, 0.7. Right? I'm gonna be like very precise. I'm giving this a 7.8. I think that's where I'm going. A 7.8. Like I said, there is a lot to love here, but there is also a lot to not. And unfortunately, I found a lot that I did not like. But it is still, in my opinion, a great game. It is still a really good game. It is still a game that I recommend. But to me, I don't see it as a must play. If you have a PS5, right, and that is like the only console you play on, it is absolutely a must play. But if you play on everything, especially in 2023 where there are so many bangers, I don't know if I think it's a must play. But that's just me. So anyway, that's going to do it for my review, guys. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you all so much for watching. If you enjoyed it, definitely leave a like, leave a comment in the section down below provided, and please subscribe. And I'll see you in the next one. G.A.M.E.R out. Peace.